There is a group chat called the Griffin Inner Circle. I am not in it, but my credit card is. They told me to be less serious about money. Then they used 7 years of my reward points to book a cruise. My name was not on the passenger list. That night, I closed my spreadsheets and opened a new file, the recovery plan. I am no longer their problem solver. I am their problem. My name is Madeline Griffin. I am 32 years old, and I am a certified public accountant, a senior manager at Northlake Ledger Tax in Cleveland. My job is to find order in chaos. I take the messy, frantic, often illogical financial lives of others, and I make them balance. I make them make sense. I find the discrepancies, follow the audit trails, and ensure that by the end of the fiscal year, every number is accounted for. It is precise work. It is quiet work. It is, I have always believed, good work. My family, on the other hand, is not precise. They are not quiet, and they do not balance. This is why I was at my mother's house on a Tuesday afternoon, a day when I should have been finalizing quarterly reports for a logistics conglomerate. The text had come, as it always did. Maddie, honey, the e-banking is acting up again. I just can't make it work. Are you stopping by this week? It was a summons, not a request. Stopping by was the code. It meant I was needed for e-banking support, a euphemism for me sitting at her kitchen table and navigating the labyrinth of forgotten passwords and two-factor authentications that comprised her digital life. I was, in essence, the unpaid technical and financial support for the entire Griffin clan. I let myself in. The key feeling slick and familiar in my palm. The house smelled the same as it always did, a faint, sweet musty scent of faded cinnamon potpourri and old upholstery. In the kitchen, the pale green floral wallpaper, the same paper that had been there since 1993, seemed to hold the sunlight hostage, filtering it into a dull, flat yellow. The only sound was the one that defined this house for me, the hollow. Rhythmic talk of the grandfather clock in the hallway. It was a space frozen in time, a diorama of a life I had professionally outgrown, but personally remained tethered to. The only thing that ever changed in this room was me. Maddie. You're a lifesaver, my mother said, emerging from the laundry room, wiping her hands on her apron. She was already logged into her bank's website on her phone, a device I had set up for her, on a family plan I managed. It's fine. Mom, what's the problem this time? It's the utility bill. It says payment pending, but I'm sure I paid it, and now they're saying I need to set up a new payee. It's all just buttons. Maddie, too many buttons. I took the phone. Her fingers were smudged with flour. I began the familiar process, checking the payment history, cross-referencing the bill number, explaining again what a pending status meant. I was halfway through resetting yet another password for her utility portal when she suddenly clapped her floured hands together. Oh, goodness, the dryer, I forgot to take the sheets out. They'll be wrinkled beyond saving. She bustled out of the kitchen, leaving me alone with the ticking clock and her unlocked phone. Don't move. I'll be right back. You're a saint, honey. I finished setting up the payment, hit confirm, and was about to lock the phone and place it on the table when the screen lit up with a new notification. It was not a text. It was not an email. It was a group chat banner. Griffin Inner Circle. Savannah sent a new photo. I froze. My fingers, which had been deftly navigating banking menus, suddenly felt thick and cold. Griffin Inner Circle. Not Griffin family, not the Griffins. An inner circle. The name was a statement, a boundary, and in that instant, I knew, with the bone-deep certainty of a number that refuses to balance, that an inner circle implies the existence of an outer circle. And I was standing in it. My heart didn't race. It did something else. It seized. It became a cold, heavy stone in my chest, a single, painful thud. It was the feeling I get when I find a discrepancy in a final audit, the cognitive dissonance of a truth that does not align with the presented facts. My thumb moved before my brain gave the command. It was not spying. It was auditing. It was the compulsive need to make the numbers add up. I tapped the notification. The chat opened. It was my mother, my two older sisters, Savannah and Tessa, and a few extended aunts and uncles. It was, I realized, the entire family, minus one. The photo Savannah had just sent was a screenshot of a cruise ship boarding pass. Her face, grinning maniacally, was next to the logo for Seabright Voyages. I began to scroll up. My breath hitched, but my hands remained perfectly professionally steady, the way they are when I am presenting a bad quarterly result to a nervous board. The messages were a flurry of excitement. Tessa: the cabin looks amazing. Did you get the balcony upgrade? Savannah: of course, and I added the ultimate beverage package for all of us. Why go if you're not going all in? Aunt Clara: I cannot wait 7 nights in the Caribbean. Just what we all needed. I scrolled faster, the text blurring into a stream of exclamation points and emojis, and then I hit the message, the one that stopped the clock in the hallway, the one that made the pale green wallpaper feel like it was shrinking. It was from Savannah, sent 3 weeks ago. Okay, team, the block is booked. Seabright Voyages, Caribbean Dream, 7 nights. And the best part, I managed to use the companion certificate and the 250,000 reward points. No need to say whose card that came from. It's all taken care of. A cold sweat broke out on the back of my neck. 250,000 points. A companion certificate. That was not a small cash. That was 7 years of my entire life. 7 years of every business lunch, every flight for a client audit, every hotel stay for a tax conference, all meticulously channeled onto one high-yield travel rewards card. My card. The card I used for everything to build a massive travel wallet I was saving. Saving for what? I never knew. Maybe a sabbatical. Maybe just a break. My eyes scanned down, looking for the inevitable denial, the voice of reason, and I found my mother's reply. A message sent from this very phone, perhaps from this very chair. That's wonderful. Kids, just remember, don't tell Madeline. She's so busy with tax season right now. We shouldn't bother her with all the planning. She needs to rest. She works too hard. Let her rest. Don't bother her. I was not a person to be included. I was a resource to be managed, a mind to be tapped. The e-banking support, who, it turns out, was also the cruise sponsor. My thumb moved with mechanical precision. Screenshot. Scroll up. Screenshot. The discussion of the beverage package. Screenshot. The boarding pass. Screenshot. The message about my points. Screenshot. My mother's message. Click, click, click. My hands did not shake. I was calm. I was as calm as I am when I am balancing a multi-million-dollar payroll reconciliation down to the last penny. This was just another reconciliation, a personal one. I forwarded the screenshots to my personal, encrypted email, a separate account I used for sensitive client documents. I went into her sent folder and deleted the evidence of my forward. I cleared the notification. I locked the phone. The kitchen door swung open. Found them, my mother announced, holding a wadded ball of white sheets. They were still damp. Now, where were we? Did you fix the scary utility people? I looked at her, at the flower on her cheek, at the innocent, relieved smile on her face. The mask of the useful daughter snapped back into place. It was heavy, made of lead, but I wore it well. I had been practicing for 32 years. All set. Mom, I said, my voice even, helpful. I reset the password. The bill is paid. I also set it up on autopay so you do not have to worry about it next month. I handed her the phone. She took it, her warm, flowered hand brushing mine. Oh, Maddie, what would I ever do without you? You are my lifesaver. The words landed like tiny shards of glass. A lifesaver. That's what I was. The person you cling to. The person who keeps you afloat. But they were not just clinging. They were drilling holes in the hull to make their own journey more comfortable. They were sinking me to save themselves. Happy to help, Mom? I gathered my purse. I have to get back. I have a deadline. Of course, my honey. You work too hard. You should take a vacation. You're right, I said, my hand on the doorknob. I should. I walked out of the house. The sky had opened up, a thin, cold Cleveland drizzle that matched the ice in my veins. I got into my car, a sensible gray sedan that was paid in full. I did not start the engine. I just sat. The rain intensified, and the automatic wipers kicked on. Squeak thud. Squeak thud. It was not a tick-tock. It was a different sound. It was the sound of resistance, a metronome counting down. A memory surfaced, unbidden, but razor-sharp. Raw photo detail. I am 16 years old. It is April. I am at this same dining room table, but it is not covered in food. It is covered in piles of receipts, W-2s, and 1099s. My father's financial mess, left behind. I was the one who taught myself TurboTax. I was the one finding deductions for business expenses he never properly logged. I was trying to save our house. Through the wall. I could hear Savannah and Tessa. Then 19 and 20, laughing. They were getting ready for a spring formal. They burst into the dining room, spinning in new dresses, pastel clouds of chiffon. How do we look? Savannah had asked. Where did you get those? I had asked, not looking up from a faded gas receipt. Mom's card. The one she keeps for emergencies. Tessa giggled. This is an emergency. We have nothing to wear. I looked down at the tax form, at the terrifying number in the amount owed box, and I looked at them, in their new, unnecessary dresses, purchased with money we did not have, on a card I was trying to keep from maxing out. I was the serious one. I was the responsible one. I was the one who fixed things. Sitting in my car, 16 years later, the squeak thud of the wipers beating their rhythm, I realized nothing had changed. I was still the one fixing the bills, and they were still the ones finding new, exciting ways to spend my money. I put the key in the ignition and turned. The engine hummed to life, quiet, efficient, and powerful. They thought I was the bank. They thought I was the utility. They were about to learn that I am, first and foremost, the auditor. The drive from my mother's house was automatic. The Cleveland drizzle slicked the roads, but I was not seeing the traffic. I was seeing the chat log. The Griffin inner circle. When I got back to my apartment, my space, all clean lines, gray quartz, and silent air. I did not take off my coat. I walked straight past the living room, past the kitchen, and into my home office. The rain streaked down the window, blurring the lights of downtown. But inside, my dual monitors glowed with a steady, clinical white light. I sat down. My fingers were cold, but they moved with the muscle memory of 10,000 hours of work. I opened my password manager, a vaulted, encrypted space that held the keys to my entire financial life. I clicked the entry for my primary rewards card. The browser opened. I logged in. I did not have to search hard. The charge was recent, posted 2 days ago. Seabright Voyages Group booking deposit. The amount was significant. A holding fee that ran into the thousands, but that was not what I was looking for. I clicked the transaction details, and there it was, the booking confirmation link. I opened it. A cheerful web page popped up. Turquoise water and smiling families. Welcome, Griffin Group. My eyes went straight to the manifest. Primary booker. Madeline Griffin. My name, my card, my legal liability. Then, I scanned the guest list. Guest 1 Savannah Griffin, Guest 2 Tessa Griffin, Guest 3 Elaine Griffin, Guest 4 Aunt Clara, Guest 5 Uncle Mark. My name was not on the passenger list. My stomach tightened, but not with panic, with cold, clarifying rage. It was the feeling of finding fraud. I was the host of the party, the one whose credit secured the venue, but I was not invited. I navigated back. There was a second transaction, linked but separate. Supplemental charges. I opened the itemized receipt. Beverage Ultimate Package 5 guests. Excursion credit 5 guests. And the payment method. 250,000 travel points. My points. They had to know I would see the charge, Or did they? I opened my email. I searched Seabright. Nothing. I searched Griffin Group. Nothing. I stopped. I thought about the inner circle. I thought about how Savannah always managed the shared family accounts, the Netflix, the cell phone plan I paid for, the joint Google account we used for photo sharing. I logged into the family Gmail account, the one I had not touched in months. I went to settings, filters and blocked addresses. There it was, a filter, created 3 weeks ago. From https google.com/search q/c bright voyages.com. Action skip inbox. Mark as read. Apply label promotions. Savannah, she had routed the confirmation emails, the receipts, the itineraries away from my primary inbox, burying them in a digital graveyard where she assumed I would never look. She was sloppy. I went to the promotions tab. It was like opening a secret ledger, dozens of emails. Your Griffin Group booking is confirmed. Manage your cruise. Book your excursions. They had not just used my card, they had actively concealed the evidence. This was not a sudden impulse. This was planned. I went back to my credit card statement. I exported the last 12 months, not a PDF, a CSV file. I opened Excel. The familiar grid was comforting. I sorted by vendor, and I saw it. The drips, little tests, leading up to the big theft. 6 months ago, a charge from Tessa's zip code for a $1.99 streaming subscription. 4 months ago, a $9.95 online magazine trial. 3 months ago, a $40 charge for a meal delivery service I had never used. They were testing the waters. Small, insignificant charges easily lost in the noise of a busy professional's monthly statement. They were checking to see if the bank was paying attention. I had not been. I had been resting. My precision returned. This was no longer a family matter. It was a financial, unauthorized transaction. I picked up my phone. I dialed the number on the back of the card. Yes, hello, I am calling to report unauthorized activity on my account, specifically, an unauthorized rewards redemption. I was polite. I was firm. I used the language of the terms of service. The agent on the other end, David, was helpful. I am flagging the redemption of 250,000 points as unauthorized pending investigation. This will place a temporary hold on the associated booking, he said. Thank you. Please note, I am the primary cardholder, but I am not a participant in this travel. I hung up. I opened a new document. I logged the time of the call, the agent's name, the case number, a string of 9 digits. My second call was to Seabright Voyages. I navigated the automated menu to Group Services. Hello, I am the primary cardholder and primary booker for the Griffin Group. Confirmation number 88G, Tango Zulu. I am calling to confirm the terms of the group block contract. The woman, Linda, was cheerful. Of course, Miss Griffin. It looks like a wonderful trip. You and your family are all set for the final payment deadline in... I cut her off, politely. Linda, I need to know the policy regarding the primary payer's authorization. As the individual whose credit card is securing all 5 cabins, what are my rights to withdraw that authorization? The cheerfulness faded, replaced by professional efficiency. According to the contract, the primary payer... Let me see. Yes, Ms. Griffin, you hold the authorization. The deposit is non-refundable, but you have the sole right to withdraw authorization for the final payment, which is due in 7 days. If authorization is withdrawn, the group block would be dissolved, and each individual passenger would be responsible for securing their own cabin at the current prevailing rate, assuming availability. And if they fail to do so, the reservations would be canceled. Thank you. Linda, you have been very helpful. I am not making any changes today. I am simply clarifying the terms. I hung up. I logged the call. Time, Agent Linda, confirmation primary. Payer me has right to withdraw before final payment. I created a new, secure folder on my local drive. backed up to my private cloud. The name was simple: Evidence Cruise. I saved the screenshots from my mother's phone. I saved the PDFs of the itemized receipts from the cruise line. I saved the CSV file with Tessa's drip charges highlighted in yellow. I saved my new call log. I saved the terms and conditions from the Seabright website. It was an audit file. It was clean, irrefutable, and cold. Now, I needed to establish their official position. I needed to move their defense from the inner circle chat log to a direct communication with me. I needed to prove they were aware of the contract. I texted my mother, not about the cruise, not about the points. Mom, I'm updating my financial files. The family cell plan account is linked to an old Griffin Group contract I have. Can you send me a copy of the contract you all signed for this cruise? I need to see if I can bundle them for a discount. It was a plausible lie, wrapped in the language of helping, that she was so used to hearing from me. Her reply came back 5 minutes later, the digital equivalent of a flustered, guilty look. Oh, honey, I don't have that. Savannah handled all the paper. It's fine. Don't worry your head about it. Let's talk about it on Sunday. Let's talk about it on Sunday. The classic Griffin delay tactic. The let's handle Madeline meeting. I did not reply. I did not argue. I did not push. I let the silence sit. I let them think I was ignorant. I let them believe I was the busy oblivious. Resting daughter who just happened to see a contract and wanted to help. They were walking into the audit. I went back to the Evidence Cruise folder. I opened the screenshots of the boarding passes Savannah had proudly shared. I printed each one: Savannah, Tessa, Mom, Aunt Clara, Uncle Mark. I laid the 5 sheets of paper out on my desk in a neat row, like exhibits. At the bottom of each one, in the fine print under the barcode, was the one line that mattered, the one line they had all ignored. Payment status confirmed, paid with primary. I was the primary, and this primary was about to revoke her authorization. I turned off the monitor. The room went dark, but the 5 white pages glowed in the residual light. The audit was just beginning. The silence that followed my text to my mother lasted exactly 1 day, 24 hours. It was a loud silence, the kind that precedes a storm or, in my case, the frantic damage control of the Griffin family. My simple, innocent request for the cruise contract had clearly set off the internal alarm. They were regrouping. They were planning their script. The first call did not come from my mother. It came from the family's designated steamroller, Savannah. I was in my office, reviewing a depreciation schedule. When her name flashed on my screen, I let it ring twice. I took a sip of water. I muted my computer's audio. Then I answered, my voice perfectly level. Hi, Savannah? Maddie, hi. I was just thinking about you. Her voice was high, breezy, the one she used when she was about to ask for a massive favor or lie about a massive transgression. I heard you were asking Mom for some paperwork. I'm updating my financial files, I said, sticking to the script. I just needed a copy of the cruise contract to see about bundling accounts. A laugh. It sounded like tinfoil being crumpled. Oh, Maddie, you are always so serious. That's what I love about you. Listen, don't stress about the money side of this. The family just wants to have some fun. You know, just let go and have fun. Fun. The word snagged in my ear. It felt dry, abrasive, like a mouthful of sand. Fun. Was that what this was? Was it fun to use someone's life savings? 7 years of accumulated work, without their permission? Was it fun to be so casually excluded? To be relegated to the status of an open-access ATM? I thought, is it fun to use someone else's card? Savannah. I said, it's just a piece of paper. Savannah. For my records. Can you send it or not? The breeziness faltered for a second, replaced by a cold spike of annoyance. God, Maddie, this is why we didn't want to bother you. You're just so wound up about this stuff. It is a family vacation. It's paid for. It's handled. Just let it go. I have to run. I'll talk to you later. She hung up. It was not a conversation. It was a command. Let it go. She had confirmed everything. They knew what they were doing, and they felt entitled to do it. An hour later, my phone buzzed with a message to a different, wider, family chat. This one I was allowed to be in. It was from my Aunt Clara. Just so excited for our big trip. It's so important for families to stick together. Some people get so lost in work and money they forget what's really important. So sad. It was a broadcast, a public relations move. The narrative was being set. Madeline is the serious one, the ungrateful one, the one who cares more about money than family. I was being painted as the villain in a story I had not even been allowed to read. My thumb hovered, my fingers itching to type a rebuttal, to present the facts. Fact. You are using my money. Fact, you lied about it, but I did not. That was not how this was won. This was not a public debate. It was a private audit. I muted the group chat. That evening, the public campaign escalated. Tessa, the quiet one, the one who had been testing my card with microtransactions, made her move. I was scrolling through my Instagram feed. A rare moment of mental downtime. When her face popped up, it was a selfie. Her with artfully damp, just out of the shower hair, a fluffy white robe, and a smug, pouting smile. The caption, counting down the days, 6 days till the beach. So needed this. Family first blessed. 6 days, that was the final payment deadline. Family first, the hashtag was a knife, my family, who had excluded me, my family, who was funding this on my labor. My hands did not shake. My reaction was not emotional. It was procedural. I took a screenshot. I cropped out the app's interface. I saved the image to my Evidence Cruise folder. I named the file Public Smear Tessa, JPG. The mask was off. My polite, helpful inquiry had been met with manipulation, public shaming, and a smug selfie. They had declared their position. Now, I would declare mine. I opened my email. I changed my tone. The helpful daughter was gone, and the senior manager from Northlake Ledger Tax was in her place. I composed a new email. I sent it to Savannah, Tessa, and my mother. The subject line was clear. Formal request, Seabright Voyages booking 88G, Tango Zulu. The body was short and professional. Following up on my previous request, I require the following documents by close of business tomorrow. Thursday, November 5th. As I am the primary payer listed on the account, 1. The full group booking contract. 2. A complete and final guest list manifest. 3. A detailed payment structure, including all deposits and reward points redeemed. Failure to provide these documents will force me to assume full administrative control of the booking to protect my financial interests. Regards, Madeline Griffin. I did not have to wait long. This email, unlike my text, did not result in silence. It resulted in an immediate, frantic phone call from my mother. I did not answer. I let it go to voicemail. I needed a record. The notification popped up. I played the message. Her voice was not angry. It was worse. It was wounded, trembling, the voice of a martyr. Madeline, honey, I just got your email. I don't understand. This isn't like you. Why are you doing this? Why are you making such a fuss? You have always been the reasonable one, Maddie. Don't do this to us. To the family. The reasonable one. I closed my eyes. I finally understood what reasonable meant in the Griffin family dictionary. Reasonable did not mean logical. It did not mean fair. Reasonable meant quiet. It meant compliant. It meant willing to silently sponsor the lives of others. I saved the voicemail file. I dragged it into the evidence folder. I opened a text document and typed definition reasonable AJ, one who provides silent, non-reciprocal financial support. I saved that too. They had drawn the line. They were using emotion, gaslighting, and public opinion as their weapons. I was using facts, contracts, and terms of service, but I was an accountant, not a litigator. I needed to be sure my next move was legally sound. The next day, I booked a 45-minute consult with Miles, a tax attorney who worked 2 floors down. Our firms collaborated often. He was sharp, cynical, and lived for the fine print. I sent him the entire Evidence Cruise folder in advance, password protected. I sat in his office, a space cluttered with binders and tax code volumes. He was leaning back in his chair, tapping a pen against his teeth as he scrolled through the screenshots on his monitor. "Well," he said, finally, "they are not very good at this. Are they good at what?" "Fraud," he said, matter-of-factly. "Hiding the emails in a promotions folder that is amateur hour, but the intent is clear." He pointed his pen at the screen. "This is a textbook case. Unauthorized rewards redemption. That's a clear chargeback. And you, as the primary payer on a group block, absolutely have revocation rights before final payment. They signed your name to a contract, and you are the only one bound to that contract. The cruise line's agreement is with you, not with them. So I can pull it. I can pull the authorization." "You can, and you should," he said. "It's clean." "One more thing," I said, leaning forward. "They are coordinating. They're posting on social media. They're telling relatives I'm difficult. What if they smear me publicly? What if Savannah, my sister, goes online and says I ruined their vacation?" Miles smiled. It was not a kind smile. It was a lawyer's smile. "Then you screenshot it," he said. "You save it. You document every single message, email, and passive-aggressive hashtag. What you have right now is a financial dispute. The moment they go public with lies to damage your reputation, that is defamation. That is when we start talking about damages. Let them talk. Just make sure you save it all." I left his office, the final piece of my plan clicking into place. I had the facts, I had the legal standing, and now I had a strategy for their counter-moves. I went home. I opened my digital calendar. I looked at the date Tessa had posted. 6 days. The final payment was due in 72 hours. I created a new calendar event. Title: Final Payment Deadline, T-minus 72 hours. I set an alert. My office was dark, the monitors asleep, the printed boarding passes were still on my desk. A row of accusing white flags. I picked them up, walked over to my wall, and pinned them up, one by one. Then I took a small, yellow sticky note. I wrote 4 words on it. I stuck it in the center of the boarding passes. It was not a note to them, it was a note to me. A new mission statement. I am not a utility. The 72-hour clock was ticking. The deadline for the final cruise payment. My deadline. The time for investigation was over. The time for emotional response was filed away. This was the execution phase. I sat at my desk, my office dark save for the clinical white light of my monitors. The sticky note on my wall. "I am not a utility" was the only color in the room. My actions were divided into 2 tracks. Track 1, external, the official, irreversible procedures. Track 2, internal, the final, documented offer of amicable resolution. I started with track 1. My fingers moved across the keyboard. I opened a new email. My tone was not that of Madeline Griffin, daughter. It was that of Ma. Griffin, Senior Manager, Northlake Ledger Tax, to Group Services say Bright Voyages. .com, CC Linda. Bright Voyages. Com, subject, Notice of Revocation, Booking 88G, Tango Zulu Griffin Group, to whom it may concern. This email serves as a formal and immediate notice of revocation. I am Madeline Griffin, the primary payer and legal authorizer for the booking referenced above, confirmation 88G, Tango Zulu, effective immediately. I hereby withdraw all financial authorization for this booking. My credit card is not to be used for the pending final payment or any further incidental charges associated with this group. You are instructed to take the following actions. 1. Immediately dissolve the Griffin Group block associated with this confirmation number. 2. Convert all associated reservations, Savannah Griffin, Tessa Griffin, Elaine Griffin, Clara Griffin, Mark Griffin, into individual passenger name records PNRs. 3. Henceforth, Each individual guest listed is solely and individually responsible for securing their own payment for their cabin at the current prevailing rate. 4. You are further instructed to immediately cease and reverse the unauthorized redemption of 250,000 travel points and one companion certificate, which were applied to this booking without my consent. 5. These assets are to be returned in full, not to the card, but to my personal Seabright travel wallet, account number ending in 4592. Attached. Please find a signed and notarized affidavit attesting that I, the primary account holder, did not authorize this redemption. Also attached are supporting documents, Exhibit A chat logs, which demonstrate a clear pattern of bad faith and intentional concealment of this transaction by the listed passengers. Please confirm receipt of this notice and completion of the above actions. Regards, M. Griffin. I clicked Attach. I dragged the Evidence Cruise folder, now zipped and password protected, into the email. I wrote a separate, short email to Miles with the password, creating a legal timestamp. I hit Send. The sound of the email leaving my outbox was as quiet and final as a vault door closing. Next, the credit card company. I did not call the regular customer service number. I called the direct line for the Risk and Compliance Department, a number I had from a client case involving internal embezzlement. A man with a quiet, serious voice answered. Compliance. This is Arthur. Hello, Arthur. My name is Madeline Griffin. I am escalating a case. Number ending in 5 and 12. I am not calling to report a lost card. I am calling to open a formal case for rewards misappropriation. This was the correct term. It changed the entire tone of the call. Misappropriation is not a stranger guessing your CVC code. It is theft by a known party. I see the flag from your previous call. Ms. Griffin, can you provide details? The redemption of 250,000 points was made by my sister, Savannah Griffin, who gained access to my accounts. She coordinated this with other family members, Tessa Griffin and Elaine Griffin, who were all aware the points were not theirs to use. They concealed the confirmation emails from me by setting up inbox filters in a shared account. I have the full digital audit trail. I have already sent a notice of revocation to the vendor, Seabright Voyages, and I am formally requesting your department claw back the redeemed assets. There was a long silence, just the sound of typing. Ms. Griffin, Arthur said finally, his voice devoid of any customer service cheer. Thank you for that information. That clarifies the situation significantly. I have opened a full investigation under a new case number. He gave me the 14-digit number. Given the evidence you claim to possess and the cooperation of the vendor, we anticipate a full resolution within 48 to 72 hours. That is the same window as the vendor's final payment deadline, I said. Then I suggest you move quickly, he replied. I hung up. I logged the new case number. The torpedoes were in the water. The external actions were complete. Now, for track 2. I had to prove I had given them every chance. I had to create the final piece of evidence, the one that proved I was the reasonable one, but that my definition of reasonable was based on a balance sheet, not on their emotional blackmail. I drafted a new document, a PDF. It was clean, formatted like an invoice. Internal settlement offer matter, Griffin, Seabright, 88G, Tango Zulu date, November 6th. This offer is presented as an amicable, internal, and final path to resolution. Summary of terms. To prevent the irreversible cancellation of the aforementioned travel booking and to settle the matter of the unauthorized redemption, the following terms must be met. Cash reimbursement, a wire transfer or certified check for the full cash equivalent value of all redeemed assets, 250,000 points, and one companion certificate. Value, $3,000. $3,000. Administrative fee, a fee covering the labor, legal consultation, and time required to identify and rectify this matter. Value, $300. $300, representing 10% of the principal total settlement amount. $300 hours, $3,300 deadline. This offer is valid for exactly 24 hours from the timestamp on the accompanying email. If the full settlement amount is received in my account by 5:00 p.m. EST, November 7th, I will make a good faith effort to rescind the formal actions already initiated with Seabright Voyages and the Credit Card Risk and Compliance Department. If the deadline is missed, this offer is void, and the external actions will proceed to their conclusion. I opened a new email to Elaine Griffin, Mom CC Savannah Griffin, Tessa Griffin. Subject: An amicable path forward. 24-hour deadline. Mom, Savannah, Tessa, please see the attached document. I am offering one final, internal solution to this matter before it becomes permanent. This is the only way the cruise booking will survive. The terms are non-negotiable. You have 24 hours. Madeline. I hit send on the second email. My phone, which had been silent, became a living thing. It was like kicking a hornet's nest. The first response was a text from Savannah. It was immediate, a string of all-caps vitriol. How dare you? How dare you send this? You are trying to extort your own mother. That is family money. It is for the family. You selfish. I did not read the rest. I did not need to. Her rage was her confession. She did not dispute the facts. She disputed my right to act on them. I screenshotted the preview. Saved. The second response was from Tessa. It was exactly what I expected. Nothing. Silence. Tessa was the one who tested my card with small drips. She was not a steamroller like Savannah. She was a ghost. Her silence was the loudest admission of all. She knew she was caught, and she had no defense. The final response was the one I was waiting for. My mother. She did not text. She did not email. She called. I let it go to voicemail. I put the phone on speaker. Her voice, the one that had called me a lifesaver just days before, filled my office. It was thick with tears, shaking with a calculated, wounded betrayal. Madeline, honey, I just got this. I cannot believe you would do this. How could you? How could you do this to me, after everything you are tearing this family apart over? Over money. Over some points. I just wanted us to be together. I just wanted us to be a family. How can you be so cold? I listened to the entire message. I saved the audio file to the evidence folder. Mom, VM, pressures. Nov 6. This was the final move, the emotional checkmate she had used my entire life. She was not appealing to the facts. She was not apologizing for the theft. She was not offering to pay me back. She was shaming me for locking the vault they had been raiding. She was not upset that they stole. She was upset that I had changed the locks. I sat at my desk and watched the clock. The 24 hours of my settlement offer ticked by. My phone was a storm of notifications from the extended family chat. I did not look. At 5:01 p.m. the next day, I opened my online banking portal. The balance was unchanged. No wire transfer, no deposit for $3,300. They had not missed the deadline. They had refused the offer. I opened my call log. I found the entry for Seabright Voyages. I found the entry for Risk and Compliance. I opened my Griffin Matter document and typed a single line under the voided settlement offer. Internal path to resolution closed by defendants at 5:00 p.m. EST, November 7th. The easy way out was gone. They had chosen the hard way, and I, their auditor, would be happy to oblige. The 24-hour deadline for my settlement offer passed at 5 p.m., not with a bang, but with the silent, digital void of an empty bank account. The internal path was closed. They had refused. They had made their choice, and in doing so, they had sealed mine. I did not have to wait long for their next move. With the path to a quiet financial resolution burned, they pivoted immediately to their only other strategy, public relations and emotional warfare. The first shot was fired by Tessa, the quiet one, the one of family first hashtags. A new post appeared on her public feed. It was not a selfie this time. It was a generic, stock image style photo of a sunset over a beach, the kind of thing you see in a dental office, but the caption was a targeted missile. So sad right now. Some people in your own family would rather tear everything down than see everyone else happy. Our family vacation. The one thing we were all looking forward to is being ruined. Just ruined. It was perfectly crafted, vague, self-pitying, and designed to elicit sympathy. It did not name me, but it did not have to. The comments section lit up within minutes. Aunt Clara. Tessa, honey, don't let them get you down. The real family knows the truth. We stick together. Uncle Mark. Unity is everything. Some people are just selfish, I guess. A cousin I had not seen in 5 years. Stay strong. Tess family. Over everything. Family over everything. This was their mantra, a phrase that, in their mouths, meant their feelings over my assets. Their unity was a closed circle, funded by me, the outsider. My fingers did not type a reply. My heart did not pound with indignation. I was an auditor, and this was just more data. I calmly screenshotted Tessa's post. I screenshotted the entire comment thread. I saved them as public smear Tessa post nov 7 and public smear comments nov 7. I attached the new image files to a fresh email and sent them to Miles. The subject was Addendum Exhibit C. His reply came back in less than 10 minutes. It was one sentence. This is exactly what we discussed. Establishes a clear pattern of bad faith. Keep saving. I did not have to wait for the next domino. My external actions, set in motion days ago, were now colliding with their reality. At 6:05 p.m., an email landed, not in my inbox, but in the family Gmail account that Savannah had so cleverly tried to manipulate. I was monitoring it. It was an automated message from Seabright Voyages. From Seabright Voyages customer service, no reply, Sea Bright Voyages. Subject action required. Booking 88G. Tango Zulu. Payment authorization revoked. Dear Griffin Group passenger, this is an urgent automated notification regarding your upcoming travel. The primary payment authorization for your booking, 88G, Tango Zulu, has been formally revoked by the primary cardholder, M. Griffin. As a result, the Griffin Group block has been dissolved. Your reservation is no longer part of a group. To avoid immediate cancellation, you must take the following action. Each passenger is now responsible for securing their own reservation at the full prevailing rate. You have exactly 24 hours from the time of this email to log into the Seabright Voyages portal and provide a valid credit card for the full payment of your individual cabin. If a valid form of payment is not received for your individual reservation by 6:00 p.m. EST on November 8th, your cabin will be automatically canceled and released for resale. We apologize for any inconvenience. Seabright Voyages. This was not a letter from me. This was the cold, impersonal, and irreversible consequence of their own actions. Delivered by a corporate third party, the system was now in control. The utility they had tapped was shut off, and the utility company was sending the final notice. My personal phone, which I had put on Do Not Disturb, began to light up with such a frantic series of notifications that it vibrated across my desk. The screen showed a cascade of missed calls and text messages. A wall of text from Savannah. I tapped the notification to see the preview. You are humiliating me. You are not going to get away with this. Mom is crying. You are dead to me. I felt nothing. No, that is not true. I felt a cold, quiet click of resolution. I typed a reply, my fingers moving quickly. You humiliated yourself when you used my money. You humiliated yourself when you lied about it. This is not humiliation. This is an invoice. I stared at the text. It was true. It was accurate. And it was exactly what she wanted to fight. An emotional, screaming match where she could be the victim and I could be the cold-hearted villain. I held my thumb over the send button, and then I deleted the entire message. I would not give her the satisfaction of a response. I would not engage in the drama she was trying to create. My action was the email from Seabright. My action was the notice of revocation. I had already said everything I needed to say, in the language of contracts and compliance. I turned my phone over, I opened my calendar, I created one final appointment. Title: Seabright Auto Cancel. Time 6:00 p.m. November 8th. Alert. 1 minute before, this was the final, non-negotiable deadline. That night, I did not work. I did not review the case file. The buzzing from my phone in the other room had become a dull, distant noise, like an angry bee trapped in a jar. I picked up my camera, my real camera, a heavy manual focus body with a prime lens, the one I used for my photography, the one part of my life that was not about numbers, but about light. I walked through my dark apartment. I did not turn on the overheads. I just looked. I saw the hard, clean shadow. The door jamb cast across the wooden floor, a perfect, dark rectangle. I took a picture. I saw the way the headlights from a passing car on the wet street below painted a single, fleeting streak of light across my wall. I took a picture. I saw the silhouette of my desk, my monitors finely dark, framed against the blurred city lights. They were not photos of people. They were photos of lines, hard boundaries, clear separations between light and shadow, the lines of freedom. I went back to my desk. I printed out a new sheet of paper. It was a simple, bullet point timeline. October 20th. Griffin Inner Circle chat notification discovered. October 21st. Unauthorized rewards redemption, 250K points, identified. November 6th. Formal notice of revocation sent to Seabright. November 7th, 5:00 p.m. Internal settlement offer expires. Unpaid. November 7th, 6:05 p.m. Seabright, action required notices sent to passengers. November 8th, 6:00 p.m. Final auto cancel deadline. I pinned this timeline to the wall, right between the sticky note and the row of printed, useless boarding passes. It was an audit trail. My audit. I looked at the final entry, the deadline. I asked myself, for the first time, what if they did it? What if they all called, found the money, and paid for their cabins? What if they still went? The answer came. Quiet and absolute. They cannot, not with their own money. Savannah lived on credit and appearances. Tessa had no savings. My mother's finances were a mess that I, until now, had kept solvent. The entire reason they used my points was because they did not have the cash. Their fun was predicated entirely on my seriousness. They were not going. I turned off my desk lamp. I walked into my bedroom. I unplugged my phone from its charger in the kitchen, silencing it for the night. I put it in a drawer. I got into bed. The silence in the apartment was total. And for the first time in weeks, my mind was not balancing a ledger or drafting an email. It was quiet. It was clear. I fell asleep before the rain started. A deep, dreamless, and profound sleep. The reconciliation was complete. The deep, restorative sleep I had fallen into was shattered at 7 a.m. on November 8th, not by my alarm, but by the insistent, vibrating buzz of my phone, which I had foolishly plugged back in. I had 93 new notifications, a blizzard of texts, missed calls, and voicemails, and one new text from my mother, sent at 6:45 a.m. Please come to dinner tonight, 7 o'clock, just us. We need to talk as a family. It was the final, desperate move, the family talk, the last-ditch effort, not to apologize, not to pay, but to manage me, to deploy the weapons of guilt and emotional obligation that had worked for 32 years. The Seabright auto-cancel deadline was tonight. My calendar alert was set for 6 p.m. This dinner was their last stand. I texted back a single word. Okay. I spent the day at my office, not working on client files, but preparing my own. I went to a print shop. I printed every document from the Evidence Cruise folder, the chat logs from the Inner Circle, the itemized receipts from Seabright, the email from Savannah admitting she had booked it, the filtered email rules, the public, passive-aggressive posts from Tessa and Aunt Clara, my formal notice of revocation, the automated, action-required email from Seabright that had set their hair on fire. I placed them in a simple, professional, hard-backed presentation folder, the kind I would use for a client audit. At 6:45 p.m., I left my apartment. I was not dressed for a family dinner. I was dressed for a board meeting. A charcoal gray sheath dress. Professional, sharp, and armored. I did not bring a bottle of wine. I brought the folder. I let myself into my mother's house. The smell of roast chicken was thick in the air. A desperate attempt to weaponize nostalgia. The table was set with the good china. The plates we used for Christmas and Thanksgiving. Wine was already poured. It was a perfect, stage-lit scene of family. They were all there. My mother, looking pale and tear-streaked. Savannah, vibrating with a rage she could barely contain, her face blotchy. And Tessa, who could not meet my eyes, staring at her empty plate. "Madeline," my mother said, her voice trembling, "thank you for coming. Honey, sit. Let's eat." "I'm not here to eat. Mom," I said. I did not sit. I placed my black leather portfolio on the table, next to the gravy boat. "Oh, for God's sake!" Savannah exploded, jumping to her feet. "Are you serious? You come in here, after what you did, with a briefcase like you're some corporate shark." "I am a professional. Savannah," I said, my voice quiet. "This is a professional matter. You made it one when you misappropriated over $3,000 in my assets." "It's not assets," Savannah shrieked. "It's family. It's points. You are the richest one here. You have the big job, the downtown apartment, the everything. We just wanted to have some fun. Why are you so selfish? Why can't you just let your family have this one? Nice thing." There it was, the word fun, now twisted into entitlement. It was not a request. It was a demand. They believed they had a right to my work, a right to my savings, simply because I was successful and they were family. My success was not my own. It was a communal resource they felt entitled to tap. "Fun," I repeated. The word was flat in my mouth. "Let's talk about fun." I opened the folder. The first page I pulled out was the screenshot from my mother's phone. "Is this fun?" I asked, placing it on the table. "This group chat, the Griffin Inner Circle, the one that specifically discusses, and I quote, 'Don't tell Madeline.'" My mother flinched, a small gasp. "Or," I continued, sliding the next document on top of it, "is this fun the itemized receipt? Beverage ultimate package, 5 guests. Excursion credit, 5 guests. All paid with my 250,000 points. The guest list. Let's see. Savannah, Tessa, Mom, Aunt Clara, Uncle Mark, a party of 5, paid for by a party of 1. Who was not invited?" I looked at Savannah. Her face was no longer angry. It was white. "You didn't have fun. You committed theft. There is a legal distinction." "Madeline, please," my mother whispered. She was wringing her hands, her eyes on the documents as if they were snakes. "Don't use those words. I just wanted us all to be together." My head snapped to her, the audacity of the lie. So practiced, so reflexive. "Together," I asked, my voice no longer quiet, but still controlled. It was cold. "Were we together when you wrote this?" I tapped her message on the screenshot. "Maddie is very busy. Don't drag her in. Let her rest. You didn't want me together. You wanted me resting. You wanted me ignorant. And you wanted me paying." I, she stammered. "I just wanted everyone to be near each other." She tried again, the tears welling up. "Near each other in a group chat. I am not allowed in." I asked, "Is that the new definition of together?" She had no answer. I turned my gaze to Tessa. She was still staring at her plate, trying to become invisible. "Tessa." She looked up, her eyes wide with panic. "What about you? What was your excuse?" She stammered, picking at her cuticle. I just thought, Savannah said you were busy. I thought you were busy. Busy, I said. I nodded. I was busy working. I was busy earning the points you felt entitled to spend. I was busy managing the family cell phone plan you're on. I was busy being the e-banking support for the woman who was actively stealing from me. I looked at all three of them, a tribunal of guilty faces, their roast chicken getting cold. I am done, I said. I pulled the final documents from my folder, the Seabright email. You all received this last night. Action required. You have, let's see. I checked my watch. You have until 6 p.m. tonight. That is less than 11 hours. The group block is dissolved. My authorization is gone. Whoever pays, goes. Whoever does not pay, does not go. Savannah found her voice, a low hiss. We don't have that kind of money right now. You know that. You did this on purpose. You are a monster. I am an auditor, I corrected her. I am the one who balances the books. You unbalance them. I am simply restoring order. I stood up. I slid my documents back into the folder, leaving nothing behind on the table. This family talk is over. The negotiations are over. I walked to the door. I paused, my hand on the knob. I am, however, I said, not turning around. A reasonable person. You've all told me that. I reached into my coat pocket. I pulled out a single, white, business-sized envelope. I turned and walked back, placing it on the table, on top of the good china. That is a final settlement offer. It is a modified version of the one you ignored. It is for a lower amount. It is for the cash equivalent of the points only. No admin fee, no punitive damages. It is an act of family. I could see the flicker of hope in my mother's eyes. That offer, I said, expires at 12 p.m., noon, today. You have 5 hours. If the money is in my account by noon, I will call Seabright, reinstate my card, and you can try to salvage your vacation. If it is not, the 6 p.m. deadline is all yours. I walked out of the room. Madeline, wait, my mother cried. I did not wait. I pulled the front door shut. It did not slam. It made a very soft, quiet click, but it was loud enough. It was the sound of a ledger being closed, a file being locked. It was the sound of done. The night after the dinner was not a night of rest. It was a night of preparation. I sat in my home office, the wall of evidence my timeline, the boarding passes, the sticky note illuminated by the steady glow of my monitor. I was an accountant, waiting for the fiscal year to close. My deadline was noon. The final, automated, system-wide deadline. The clock on my computer read 8 a.m. My phone, which I had left on vibrate, buzzed against the wood of my desk. A new email had hit the family account, and my monitoring rule had forwarded it to me. From Seabright Voyages alerts, Seabright Voyages. Come subject. Urgent. Final reminder. Booking cancellation at 12:00 p.m. EST. Dear Griffin passenger, this is a final automated notice. Your reservation is pending cancellation. Full payment must be received by 12:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today, November 8th. To secure your cabin, no exceptions will be made. My intervention, my notice of revocation, had clearly triggered an accelerated timeline. The system's original 6 p.m. cutoff had been rescinded. The new deadline was noon, 4 hours, the same deadline I had given them for my settlement offer. The timelines had merged. At 9:15 a.m., the first piece of my counter-operation locked into place. An email chimed in my personal, secure inbox. From Rewards Compliance Department, subject your claim case, 891R, has been resolved. Dear Madeline Griffin, we have completed our investigation into the rewards misappropriation claim. We have found the transaction to be unauthorized by the primary account holder. We have successfully reversed the redemption. 250,000 points and 1 companion certificate have been redeposited into your Seabright travel wallet. Effective immediately. We apologize for this security lapse and thank you for your patience. I logged into the app. There they were, my assets, pulled back from the brink, sitting safely in my account, the fuel for their vacation. The very foundation of their fun had been clawed back. The tank was empty. At 9:30 a.m., the second piece fell. My email chimed again. It was from Miles. He had CC'd me on the formal letter to Savannah, Griffing Mail, com, Tessa, Griffing Mail, com, Elaine, Griffin Aol, com, CCM, Griffin North Lake Tax, com, subject letter of record, client Madeline Griffin, Ms. Savannah Griffin, Ms. Tessa Griffin, and Ms. Elaine Griffin. Please be advised that our firm, Northlake Legal, has been retained to represent the interests of Madeline Griffin in the matter of unauthorized financial transactions, potential rewards fraud, and defamation. All future communications regarding this matter must be directed to my office. You are hereby instructed to cease and desist all direct contact with our client. Any further attempts to harass, intimidate, or malign our client, including via text, phone, email, or social media, will be documented and used as grounds for further legal action for damages. Govern yourselves accordingly. Miles R. Warren, Esquire. It was a clean, beautiful, impenetrable wall, a legal shield. He had built it just in time. At 10:10 a.m., the assault began. My phone, resting on the desk, lit up and began to vibrate violently. The screen flashed Savannah. It rang, buzzed, and then stopped as it hit my voicemail. 1 second later, it lit up again. Savannah. And again, Savannah. She was calling back to back to back, attempting to bypass my silence, slamming her fists against the new professional boundary. She had seen Miles's email. She had likely just tried to log into the Seabright account. She was realizing the bank was closed. The assets were gone, and the bank was now defended by a lawyer. I watched the screen light up a fourth time. I did not decline the call. I did not engage. I simply reached over, pressed the volume down button twice, and activated Do Not Disturb. The screen went dark. The vibration ceased. The silence in my office was profound. The clock was ticking. 1 hour, 15 minutes until the cutoff. At 11:05 a.m., a single notification slipped past the barrier, a text message. It was from Tessa. Maddie, please, I know I'm not supposed to. I saw the lawyer email, but please, they are screaming at each other. Mom is crying. Savannah is throwing things. I don't know what to do. How do I pay just for me? How do I pay for just my cabin? It was the first crack, the first sign of individual accountability in the entire Griffin inner circle. She was not asking for a handout. She was not demanding I fix it. She was asking for an invoice. She was asking to be responsible. At 11:07 a.m., I sent my one and only reply. I was not Madeline the sister. I was the administrator. I opened the Seabright portal, found the unique individual payment link for her now separate PNR. I copied it. I went back to our text thread. I pasted the link. I hit send. No other words. No, I told you so. No, it's about time. Just the tool. Just the mechanism for her own escape. She would have to find the key. She would have to turn it herself. I went back to the Seabright portal. The manager's view I still had as the original booker. 11:50 a.m., 10 minutes to the cutoff. I hit refresh. Cabin 1. Savannah payment pending. Cabin 2. Tessa payment pending. Cabin 3. Elaine Griffin. Clara Griffin. Mark Griffin, payment pending. They were all still on the chopping block. My noon settlement offer, the one I'd left on the table, was ignored. My bank account was empty. They were still holding out. They were still calling my bluff. I stared at the screen, my heart a cold, steady drum. The clock on my computer clicked to 12:00 p.m. Noon. My settlement offer was officially, irrevocably void. I hit refresh on the portal. The screen blinked. The data reloaded. Cabin 1 Savannah. Cancelled. Cabin 2. Tessa paid in full. Cabin 3. Elaine, Clara, Mark canceled, the system had executed. Tessa's payment, a desperate, last-minute transfer, must have processed at 11:59. She had made it, scrambling onto the lifeboat as it pulled away from the sinking ship. But the other two cabins, Savannah's, and the one holding my mother, aunt, and uncle were gone. They had called my bluff, and it had not been a bluff. At 12:10 p.m., my phone rang. It was my mother. Her call was not blocked by "Do Not Disturb." I let it go to voicemail. I listened as she spoke. Her voice was not the hysterical, angry shriek from the night before. It was something new, a soft, wounded, manipulative velvet. "Maddie, honey, it's done. The booking is gone. Savannah's is gone. Mine is gone. I don't understand how you could do this. We were all counting on. Everyone was so looking forward to this. Con, how could you? Don't do this to us. Please. Can't you call them? Can't you fix it?" Fix it. I saved the voicemail. I looked at the phone and spoke the words to the empty room. I am just returning ownership to the person who actually paid. I would not text her. I would not call her. I would obey my lawyer's letter. At 12:30 p.m., the family chat. The wide one I was still in exploded. Aunt Clara. "What in God's name happened? Our cruise booking just disappeared. It says canceled." Uncle Mark. "Elaine, what did Savannah do? My card was never even charged." And then, the inevitable text from Savannah, a public broadcast to the entire family. It was Madeline. That cold-hearted bitch canceled everyone's vacation. She found out we were going without her and she destroyed it just to be spiteful. I screenshotted it. I saved it. I forwarded it to Miles, Exhibit D, at 1 p.m. The final, official document arrived, an email to all parties involved, including the family account and, I noted with grim satisfaction, the new individual PNR for Tessa. From Seabright Voyages, customer resolutions, subject cancellation notice, booking 88G, Tango Zulu. This email is to confirm that the reservations for the following passengers: Savannah Griffin, Elaine Griffin. Clara Griffin, Mark Griffin, have been formally cancelled as of 12:00 p.m. EST on November 8th. Reason for cancellation, primary authorization withdrawn. Not spite, not Madeline's rage. It was the cold, clean, factual language of the audit. Primary, authorization, withdrawn. The heist was over. The assets were secure. The case was closed. The digital explosions of the afternoon settled into a strange, heavy silence. The finality of the primary authorization withdrawn email was an electronic gavel strike. The case was closed. The family, or what was left of it, was processing the verdict in their own ways. Savannah, predictably, tried to control the narrative. Her public-facing posts, which had been full of rage and accusations of my spite, shifted tone. The failure of her plan required a new public relations strategy. A new post appeared on her Facebook, clearly aimed at the extended family who had seen her previous rants. It was a photo of her and my mother, smiling from a holiday dinner 2 years prior. The caption was a masterpiece of passive aggression. Thankful for the people who know what really matters. At the end of the day, love is what counts. Some people get so wrapped up in procedures and rules that they forget how to be a family. We might not be going on a big trip, but our circle is stronger than ever. Family first. Procedures, that is what she called it now. My audit, my reclamation, my refusal to be stolen from. It was all just a bureaucratic snag. She was painting me as a small-minded clerk who had gotten lost in the paperwork. While she and my mother were the paragons of love and forgiveness, I screenshotted it. I filed it. Exhibit E spin control. Then, a different notification, a private one, a text from Tessa, sent to my personal number in clear violation of Miles's cease and desist letter, but it was not an attack. It was not a plea. Maddie, I know I'm not supposed to be texting you, but my booking is confirmed. I just wanted to say thank you. Not for, but for sending the link, for showing me how to pay for my own. There was a pause, a small typing bubble, and then one more message. I am sorry for my part in this. I stared at the words. It was the first, and only, admission of wrongdoing I had received. It was quiet, private, and contained no excuses. Tessa, the one who had tested my card with tiny, secret thefts, was the only one who had, in the end, found the courage to run her own. A strange realization settled over me. The people who are the loudest about family are often the ones who contribute the least to it, the ones who do the work, the ones who silently pay the bills, the ones who actually are responsible, are often the quietest. Tessa, in her final, simple act of paying her own way, had shown more character than all the others combined. She had learned. She had not begged. She had accepted the invoice. I did not reply. Miles's letter was a wall, but I saved the text. It was not evidence. It was a receipt. The next day, there was a knock on my apartment door. I was not expecting anyone. I looked through the peephole. There was no one there. When I opened the door, a small, dented object was on my doormat. It was an old tin box, the kind that used to hold fruitcake. It was rusted at the edges. The painted poinsettias faded. I knew it instantly. It was my grandmother's recipe box from the house. There was no note. This was my mother's move. Unable to face me, unable to use her voice for fear of Miles, she had resorted to a silent, symbolic offering, a Trojan horse of nostalgia. I brought it inside, my hands wary, as if it might be a bomb. I opened it. It did not contain recipes. It was full of old, black and white photographs, curled at the corners, pictures of a life before me, and in half of them, a woman I barely recognized, my grandmother. Iris, as a young woman in the 1960s, was holding a camera, not a small point-and-shoot, but a serious twin-lens reflex film camera. In one photo, she was aiming it at the camera. In another, she was wearing it on a strap, her expression focused, intense. I had never known this, my passion for photography, the artsy, unserious hobby that my family had always dismissed as a maddie thing, a strange departure from my useful skill with numbers. It was not a departure at all. It was not an aberration. It was an inheritance. I was not the black sheep. I was a direct line. My gene, as they called it, was not just for spreadsheets. It was for this, for framing the world, for seeing the lines. I sat on my floor, the scent of old paper and tin filling my office, and I looked at the wall, at my timeline, at the recovered assets email from the credit card company, at the 250,000 points and the companion certificate, now sitting safely in my Seabright travel wallet. And I knew exactly what to do. I did not book a trip to a spa. I did not cash the points out for gift cards. I opened the Seabright Voyages website. I searched for the exact same sailing. The Caribbean, 7 nights, departing from the port of Miami, the one they were supposed to be on. I found a cabin, a studio solo, small, efficient, with a view of the sea. I clicked book. I went to the payment page. I clicked apply travel wallet. With a few precise, clean clicks, I used the 250,000 points and the companion certificate to pay for the entire booking, all of it. This was not sabotage. This was not revenge. I was not going to ruin their trip. They had already done that to themselves. Tessa was still going. She had paid. She had earned her right to be there. This was reclamation. This was me, the primary payer, finally claiming the benefit I had earned. I had paid for this trip 7 years over, in client lunches and brutal tax seasons. I was going to be the one to enjoy it. The person who paid was the person who was going. The books were, at last, balanced. I opened my email. I sent a message to Seabright customer service. Hello? I am ticketed on booking 91A Lima Victor. I am a professional photographer. I would like to upgrade my studio package to include a full photo access pass for the duration of the cruise. I am working on a personal project titled Faces at Sea. Please advise on the additional cost. I received a text from Miles. He had seen Savannah's new procedures post. Just checking in. This is the spin. As expected, do not engage. You have the file. You have the assets. You won. I texted him back. I agree. A public fight is for the mob. The file is for reality. I closed my laptop. My office was quiet. The sun was setting, and the window was throwing a long, bright rectangle of light onto the far wall. I picked up my camera, the one my grandmother would have understood. I turned it on myself. I stood in the light. It cut across my face, illuminating one half, leaving the other in deep, defined shadow, a rim light of sovereignty. I raised the camera and focused on my own reflection in the dark glass of the monitor. I pressed the shutter. Click. I loaded the photo. I looked at the hard line, the absolute separation of light and dark. I opened the file for my new photography project. I highlighted the title. Faces at Sea. I deleted it. I typed a new title. It was the last entry in the ledger. No longer a utility. The port of Miami was a cathedral of controlled chaos. It was Sunday morning. The air thick with salt, humidity, and the low, thrumming sound of thousands of people in motion. Suitcases rattled over the tile. Porters shouted, and far in the distance, a cruise ship's horn bellowed, a low, resonant call to the sea. I was not a part of the chaos. I was an observer. I stood near a pillar, my single carry-on at my feet, my camera bag slung over my shoulder. I was watching, and then I saw them. My family. Or the wreckage of it. Savannah and my mother were dragging two massive, oversized suitcases, the color of loud, synthetic champagne. They looked frantic, out of place. Savannah was already sweating, her face pinched in annoyance. My mother looked small and terrified, clutching her purse as if it were a life preserver. They found the main check-in line for Seabright Voyages. They looked up at the group bookings sign, the very category they had created, and got in line. From my vantage point, I could see another line, the one for priority and suite guests, and I saw Tessa. She was alone, her luggage modest and practical. She was already at the counter. I watched her hand over her passport. The agent smiled, typed, and handed her a blue card, her C-Pass. She took it, smiled back a real, relieved smile, and walked away toward the security checkpoint. Now it was Savannah's turn. She pushed the heavy bags up to the counter and plastered on a bright, entitled smile. Checking in, Griffin? We're a group of 5, well, 3, 2, anyway, Savannah and Elaine Griffin. The agent, a young man with a polite, fixed smile, tapped his keyboard. His smile did not change, but his eyes went flat. Griffin, you said. Yes, Savannah, Savannaah, and Elaine. More typing. The agent's face was a perfect professional mask. I'm sorry, Ms. Griffin. I'm not finding a valid reservation for you or for an Elaine Griffin. Savannah's smile snapped off. What? That's impossible. We are part of the Griffin Group. Confirmation 88G, Tango Zulu. Look it up again. The agent typed again. He sighed, a tiny puff of air. Ah, I see the original file. Yes, ma'am. This reservation was canceled. The system shows it was auto-canceled on November 8th. Canceled? No. That was a mistake. A family thing, Savannah said, her voice rising, attracting the attention of the people in the next line. It was sorted. We're here. Ma'am, the booking is marked canceled. The reason listed is payment revoked by primary authorizer. There's no way for me to check you in. This booking does not exist. This is ridiculous, Savannah said, her voice climbing an octave. We are going on this ship. Get me a manager. My mother, who had been silent, grabbed Savannah's arm. Savannah, honey, lower your voice. She looked at the agent, her eyes brimming with the familiar, practiced tears. Please, young man. It's a family vacation. It's so important. My daughter, she can be difficult. She was the one who booked it. But we're here. Can't we just pay now? The agent looked at her, his professional mask softening for a second into pity. Ma'am, even if you wanted to pay, I can't. The ship is fully booked. There are no cabins to sell, and your original cabins were released and resold 10 days ago. I'm sorry. No! Savannah slammed her hand on the counter. This is not happening. This is her fault. She did this. Let me talk to someone who can fix this. My mother, meanwhile, was fumbling with her phone. I'll call her. I'll call Maddie. She'll fix this. She always fixes this. I felt the vibration in my pocket. Once, twice, I watched my mother's face fall as the call went, unanswered, to my voicemail. She's not picking up, my mother whispered, her face ashen. Of course she's not, Savannah shrieked. She's probably on this ship somewhere. She did this. She stole our vacation. And just as Savannah hit her peak, a new sound cut through the air, a chime. It was the family group email notification, pinging on Savannah's phone, on my mother's phone, and on my own. I pulled my phone from my pocket. It was a new email from Seabright Voyages, sent to every passenger and former passenger associated with booking 88G Tango Zulu. From Seabright Customer Resolutions, subject Final Statement of Account, booking 88G Tango Zulu. Dear parties, this email serves as a final official statement regarding the dissolution of the Griffin Group booking. Per passenger inquiries and internal disputes, this document is to clarify the timeline of events. October 21st. Booking created and secured by primary payer, M. Griffin. November 6th. Formal notice of revocation received from primary payer, M. Griffin. November 7th. All passengers notified of revocation and given a 24-hour window to secure individual payment, November 8th, 12:00 p.m. Payment deadline expires, November 8th, 12:01. Reservations for S. Griffin, E. Griffin, C. Griffin, and M. Griffin were auto-canceled for non-payment, November 8th, 12:01 p.m. Reservation for T. Griffin was retained. Having been paid in full by T. Griffin, this action is final and irreversible. Attached. Please find a copy of the primary authorization rules from the original contract and a copy of the signed, notarized withdrawal affidavit from M. Griffin. We consider this matter closed. I watched Savannah's eyes scan the email. I watched the blood drain from her face, replaced by a dark, mottled red. The email was a legal receipt. It was a public audit, sent to the entire family, detailing her failure, her non-payment, and Tessa's success. It was proof. She looked up from her phone, her eyes wild, and she screamed, not a word, just a raw, animal sound of pure, unadulterated rage. You cannot do this to me, she yelled, not at the agent, but at the entire terminal. A port security officer, a large man with a calm expression, immediately started walking toward her. Ma'am, I need you to lower your voice. No, you don't understand my sister. She stole this from us. Savannah was crying now. Ugly, furious tears. I want her arrested. The agent at the counter looked exhausted. Ma'am, this is a financial dispute. It's not a security matter. You need to take this up with your bank, or your sister. But you are not boarding this ship. You need to leave the check-in area. Savannah, please. My mother was weeping, pulling at her arm. Please, let's go. Everyone is looking. She looked at the agent. One last, desperate plea. Please, family is the most important thing. You have to understand. The agent, his patience finally gone, leaned forward. His voice was low, but it cut through my mother's tears. Ma'am, at the port of Miami, family is not the most important thing. On this system, the card is the most important thing, and your card was not valid. Please, move along. The security officer was there now. Ladies, this way. We have a financial services office over here where you can discuss this, but you are holding up the line. Savannah's shoulders slumped. The fight was gone, replaced by the crushing public weight of defeat. She allowed the officer to guide her and my mother, weeping, toward a small, sterile office marked Passenger Support. I watched them go. I took a breath. I slung my camera bag more comfortably onto my shoulder. I walked to a different counter, the one with no line, marked Studio Cabins. A woman with a warm smile looked up. "Hi there. Welcome to Seabright." "Hello," I said. "Checking in. Madeline Griffin," she typed. "Griffin? Ah, yes, our solo studio. 91A, Lima Victor. Got you right here. All paid in full. Looks like you have our photo access package, too. Are you a professional?" "It's a passion," I said, handing her my passport. "Wonderful. Well, here is your C-Pass card. Ms. Griffin, you're all set. You're in boarding Group C, which is boarding right now. Have a wonderful, wonderful trip." I took the card. It was blue. It felt heavy and real. "Thank you. I will." I turned and walked toward the security checkpoint. As I approached, I saw Tessa. She was on the other side, waiting, her own small bag at her feet. She had clearly been watching the entire scene. Our eyes met across the divide of the terminal. I did not smile. She did not smile, but she looked at me, at the camera on my shoulder, at the blue card in my hand, and she did something I never expected. She gave me a small, single, respectful nod, a nod of thanks, a nod that said she understood. I gave her a tiny nod back, an acknowledgement. She turned and walked toward the ship. A voice came over the loudspeaker, echoing across the entire vast terminal, soaring over the check-in counters where my mother and sister were now sitting under fluorescent lights. "Final call for Seabright Voyages. All passengers. Boarding Group C. Please proceed to security. The gates are now closing." I looked at the security checkpoint, the metal detector, the X-ray machine. It was a gateway, a frame. And in that moment, the entire terminal was a perfectly composed photograph. There were two kinds of people in it, the people who paid and the people who did not. I was one of the people who paid. I walked toward the gate, my steps light, my camera on my shoulder, and I did not look back. The air on the open deck was not like the air in the terminal. It was not recycled, heavy with perfume and stress. This was the air of the open Atlantic, sharp, clean, and carrying the taste of salt. It was the air of motion. The deep vibration of the engines was a steady, rhythmic pulse under my feet, a feeling of power and departure. My studio cabin was small, smart, and perfect. A single bed, a clean desk, and a large, round window facing the sea. I did not unpack my clothes. I unpacked my tools. I sat my laptop on the desk and my camera bag on the bed. Then I went to the aft deck, found an alcove sheltered from the wind, and sat down. The final items on my timeline. I opened my laptop. I pulled up the Evidence Cruise folder. In the drafts, there was one last document Miles had prepared for me. Subject formal notice. Cease and desist defamation. To Savannah, Griffin Mail, come CC Miles. Warren Northlake Legal. Come I attach the full, finalized exhibits. Exhibit A, the Inner Circle screenshots. Exhibit B, the public smear posts from Tessa. Exhibit C, the Family First and Procedures posts from Savannah. Exhibit D, the text messages from Savannah to the family chat, explicitly calling me a bitch and accusing me of spite. I added one line of my own above Miles's legal text. Savannah, this is your one and only warning. The next defamatory post, text, or voicemail will result in a lawsuit for damages. The file is already prepared. I hit send. The whoosh of the email leaving my outbox was satisfying. As it vanished, a new email chimed in. It was a forward from Miles. He had been copied on the final statement of account that Seabright had sent to everyone. His note was brief. M. Griffin, file closed. Seabright's official statement confirms to all parties that your revocation was valid and the subsequent cancellations were due to the passenger's own non-payment. This is a clean kill. They have no legal recourse. Go enjoy your vacation. I am billing your retainer for the final hour. It was done. The audit was closed. stamped, and filed. My phone, which I had placed on the table, buzzed. A text from Savannah. She had clearly received my email, seen Miles's address, and in a fit of rage, ignored the legal warning entirely. "You are cruel." Just 2 words, the final, simplistic defense of the person who has been cornered by the facts. Not, "I am sorry," not, "I was wrong," but, "You are cruel. You are cruel for not letting me steal from you. You are cruel for not fixing the mess I made." I looked at the Miami skyline, now shrinking behind the ship's massive wake. I typed 1 sentence. "I am not cruel. Savannah, I am just restoring the boundary." I hit send. I then blocked her number. My phone buzzed again, a voicemail notification. My mother? I put the phone to my ear. The wind roaring around the alcove. Her voice was not the crying, manipulative velvet of the phone call, or the wounded wail of the dinner. It was dull. It was dead. "Maddie, you ruined the vacation. You ruined it. I hope you're happy." The call ended. I saved the voicemail. I labeled it "Final Entry." I did not reply. I blocked her number. I closed the laptop. I picked up my camera. I left the alcove and walked, my feet steady on the deck, against the motion of the ship. I walked past the Lido bar, where music was already playing and people were cheering. Their first drinks of the trip held high. I walked past the pools, past the jogging track. I walked all the way to the bow, the very front of the ship, into the full force of the wind. It was just me. The wind tore at my hair, a physical force trying to push me back. I leaned into it. I grabbed the railing. Below me, the bow cut a sharp white line through the deep cobalt blue of the water. Ahead of me, the horizon was a perfect, sharp, mathematical line, a perfect separation. I raised my camera. I focused on the line, the absolute division between sea and sky. I took a picture. I turned the camera. I focused on my own shadow, cast long and solid on the metal deck, alone, but stable. I took another. My phone vibrated in my pocket. I pulled it out, annoyed at the interruption. It was a text from Tessa. It was not words. It was an image, a screenshot from her mobile banking app. It showed a single, massive credit card payment, made 2 days ago, the payee Seabright Voyages. A second text came through. "I learned my lesson. Thank you for letting me be responsible for myself." I looked at the 2 messages, and I smiled. It was not a smile of victory. It was not a smile of triumph over my family. It was the quiet, internal smile of an accountant who has finally made the numbers balance, the satisfaction of a ledger that is finally, perfectly, reconciled. I had not won. I had just restored. I had paid myself back. Another notification vibrated, this one from my bank. "Your rewards account has been updated." I logged in. The 250,000 points and the companion certificate were there, shining, and then I saw the deduction, the cost of my own solo studio cabin. It was a fraction of the total. The remainder, the massive, valuable surplus of points, sat there. It was my seed money. It was the capital for my photography studio. It was the rest of my life. I walked back to my cabin. The ship was moving fast now, the land just a green-brown smudge in the distance. I sat at my desk and opened my email one last time. I drafted a new message. To Elaine Griffin, Savannah Griffin, Tessa Griffin, Aunt Clara, Uncle Mark. Subject, Future Financial Inquiries. This is to notify you that as of today, November 10th, Madeline Griffin is no longer acting as the non-biller, pro bono accountant for the Griffin family. All questions regarding taxes, banking, contracts, or financial planning should henceforth be directed to a qualified professional of your choosing. If you wish to inquire about retaining the services of Northlake Ledger and Tax, you may contact our new client office, and they will provide you with our standard fee schedule. I hit send. The whoosh sound in the tiny, silent cabin was as loud and final as a vault door swinging shut. It was the sound of a key locking. I closed the laptop. I put it in my bag. The ship gave a long, deep bellow of its horn. a sound of pure departure. I looked out my window. The sun was beginning to dip, and the light on the water was blinding. I picked up my camera. I walked out onto my small, private solo balcony. I raised the camera. I did not point it at the sea. I pointed it directly into the light. A brilliant, white-gold sun flare exploded across the lens, obliterating the view, replacing it with pure, clean light. I pressed the shutter. The sharp click of the camera's mechanism was the only sound. It was the final sound, the gavel, the end of the audit, back at the port of Miami. I knew Savannah was likely still in that sterile office, arguing with a passenger support agent, demanding a refund she was not owed. Trapped in a loop of her own entitlement, she was a ghost, arguing with a system that had already moved on. Her story was a closed file. Mine was just beginning. The click of the shutter was the first frame, the sharp, clean edge of freedom. Thank you so much for listening to this story. I would love to hear your thoughts and connect with you all. So drop a comment below and let me know where in the world you are listening from. Please subscribe to Maya Revenge Stories and like this video. And if you really want to support the channel, please hit that hype button to help this story get heard by even more people.